Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. It seems that Tyson Fury fanboys are really struggling to come to terms with the fact that their hero lost twice to a middleweight. Fury's words, not mine. They're salty, they're butthurt, traumatized even. They fell for the Fury hype like the clueless casuals they are. They actually fell for the idea that this guy was the best of his generation when he hadn't proved it in the ring. They fell for the idea that he was unbeatable. They fell for the idea that he was the greatest heavyweight of all time. I mean, how brain dead and delusional can you be? And since the vast majority of boxing fans aren't buying this ridiculous notion that Fury was robbed in the Usyk fights, the Fury fanboys are resorting to their default coping strategy, which is to bash Anthony Joshua. And it's a bizarre thing because Anthony Joshua obviously has absolutely nothing to do with Usyk beating Fury. Anthony Joshua is washed up, finished, got demolished by Daniel Dubois. He's not relevant in the heavyweight title picture anymore. But the Fury fanboys are so desperate for some type of emotional pick-me-up that they've resorted to flogging a dead horse. You gotta laugh. And what's even more hilarious is that they're bashing AJ with lies. They don't even bother to use facts. Since Tyson Fury is a pathological liar, he attracts pathological liars. Birds of a feather flock together. So for example, one of these weirdos turned up in the comment section of one of my recent videos, which had nothing to do with Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua, by the way, which again shows how deranged and desperate these people are. And this idiot started peddling the same old lie that Anthony Joshua ducked Deontay Wilder when they were both champions. He referred to a talk show that Anthony Joshua appeared on in 2018, where he sarcastically quipped that he wasn't going to fight Wilder. It was a sarcastic comment in response to the fact that Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, and their respective teams were openly plotting to freeze AJ out, which was always a ridiculous concept since AJ had 3 belts and they only had 1 between them. But the likes of Frank Warren, for example, was running around saying that Wilder versus Fury was the 2 best heavyweights in the world. And the other guy, quote unquote, meaning AJ, was irrelevant. So Wilder versus Fury was de facto undisputed, basically. That's what Team Fury and Team Wilder were trying to sell. So AJ's comment on that talk show was a sarcastic response to that. And how do I know for certain that it was sarcastic? Well, firstly, because it was blindingly obvious from the way that he said it. And secondly, because he made the comment after he'd already sent 2 offers to Deontay Wilder earlier that very same year. One for 12.5 million and another for 15 million, both of which Wilder turned down. Bear in mind, Wilder's previous highest purse up to that point was less than $3 million. So Wilder was being offered literally 5 times his highest purse. And incidentally, it was actually more money than he got paid for the first Fury fight, which is the fight he took instead of facing AJ for Undisputed in 2018. He chose to fight Fury for less money and no extra belts. And then, since the idiotic Wilder refused to accept the previous offers because they were made by Eddie Hearn, Team Joshua got DAZN to talk to Wilder directly, and they made him an offer instead. This time for over $100 million. This included the Dominic Breazeale fight, which Wilder had to take anyway because it was his mandatory, and then 2 fights with Anthony Joshua. Guaranteed. Deontay Wilder turned it down. Fact. Wilder is so stupid that he actually allowed Al Heyman or Shelly Finkel or whoever it was to convince him to fire Lou DiBella for setting up that meeting with DAZN. DiBella got Wilder a deal worth over $100 million for a showdown with AJ for Undisputed, and Wilder fired him for it. You couldn't make it up. What was going on, of course, is that Wilder's handlers were working in the best interests of Fox and Showtime. So their objective was to make sure that DAZN did not get a foothold in the US market. And this objective, of course, was counter to Wilder's best interests. But because Deontay Wilder has the IQ of a plastic spoon, it was easy for his team to talk him out of the best deal of his life and convince him to fire Lou DiBella. DiBella was fired because he presented Wilder with a deal that would have helped DAZN establish themselves in the US. So anyway, Wilder turned down 3 separate offers to fight Anthony Joshua. 2 in 2018 and 1 in 2019, all for career high money. fact. Yet these Tyson Fury fanboys are so dishonest and so desperate that they gloss over all of that and take a sarcastic comment that AJ made completely out of context and use it as quote-unquote evidence that AJ supposedly ducked a Wilder fight. Absolutely ridiculous. As I say, it's so bad that whenever I do a video or a live stream on any other heavyweight boxer with no mention of AJ or Fury, these weirdos will turn up in the comments bashing Anthony Joshua, saying stuff that has literally nothing to do with the topic of the video. You see, I've been studying the Fanboy for 15 years here on YouTube. I know how the Fanboy moves. I know how he thinks. I know his pathology. I study the Fanboy like David Attenborough studies animals. I know these losers better than they know themselves. You see, the Fanboy has a very primitive, dichotomous psychology. They always, and I mean always, project their primitive mindset onto everyone else. The Fanboy is, of course, massively biased in favor of their favorite fighter, in this case Tyson Fury. They literally worship the ground he walks on. All of them wish that they could replace Paris Fury in bed next to Tyson, and I'm not even being facetious. That's literally what these people are like. They make Stan look tame in comparison. And so what they do is they assume that every other boxing fan on earth is exactly like they are. They assume that the only motive there could ever be for giving any fighter credit for anything is that you're a fanboy of that fighter. And by that same token, they also assume that the only motive there could ever be for criticizing any fighter is because you're a hater of that fighter. Their primitive brains cannot comprehend the concept of objective praise or objective criticism. They just can't wrap their heads around it. Their misguided notion of fairness is to criticize and praise every fighter an equal amount, which is, of course, absolutely ridiculous. That's the exact opposite of fairness. That would be like a judge in court handing out the same sentence to every single defendant, irrespective of the crime they committed or the length of their criminal history. A serial killer getting the same punishment as a kid who stole a Snickers bar. That is literally what these people think fairness is. They cannot grasp the notion that the punishment must fit the crime. If a fighter ducks several fights, lies, and gaslights the public non-stop, year after year, that fighter, in this case Tyson Fury, deserves more criticism than someone like Alexander Usyk, for example, who does not carry on like that. That is what fairness actually is, you morons. Meting out praise and criticism fairly and appropriately. Not giving every fighter an equal amount of criticism, that's stupid. You don't give a kid who stole a Snickers bar 100 years just because a serial killer got that sentence, do you? That wouldn't be fair at all. That would be completely unfair. Tyson Fury has earned every single bit of criticism he's got from people like me due to his own actions. Back in 2015 when he beat Klitschko, I was praising him. I was over the moon when he won that fight. The video's still up. My motto on this channel has always been, no fighter is below praise and no fighter is above criticism. But praise and criticism are both earned. And unfortunately, since the Klitschko fight, Tyson Fury has gone out of his way, above and beyond, to earn a boatload of criticism, all brought on by himself, all 100% of his own doing, all 100% fair and justified. This is a video of Tyson Fury back in 2020 talking about Alexander Usyk. I'm going to quote him word for word. He said, "Usyk ain't on the list. He's a no-name. No one's interested and he doesn't make any money. So what would I want to fight him for? He's a foreigner, don't speak good English, and nobody's really interested anyway. I want the big fights that people are interested in, and that ain't one of them." At this point, the interviewer asked him, what if he was to beat Joshua? To which Fury replied, still, it wouldn't be a big fight. He's still a foreigner in a westernized world. The belts are back in the West, and they're going to stay there. And you know, for whatever it sounds like, the heavyweight champion should be from Britain or America and nowhere else. Maybe in Ukraine he might be a big star, but Britain or America ain't interested in some Ukrainian boxer boxing in Ukraine, and that's the way it is. The heavyweight champion of the world needs to be in the West, and that's it. That's how it goes. So back in 2020, Tyson Fury said he had no interest in fighting Alexander Usyk, even if he beat AJ, because nobody knows him. Bear in mind, Fury made these comments right after he just fought Tom Schwartz and Otto Wallin and shamelessly tried to pass them off as heavyweight title fights. Yeah, everyone knew who they were, didn't they, Mr. Fury? Or should I say Mr. Partridge? The man is so full of it, it's unreal. The reality is, Fury said what he said there because he knew how good Usyk was even back then, and he was planning his excuses to avoid him. And of course, he did avoid him for over 2 years after Usyk beat AJ. He was hoping that Usyk would either lose during that period or get old overnight. Ultimately, pressure from the fans, who eventually cottoned on to Fury's bullshit, and an enormous check from the Saudis forced Fury's hand. Now look, he's a tremendous fighter, Tyson Fury. I've always said that. But he's also a con man and a pathological liar. So what do you want me to do? Ignore that? No, I'm not going to ignore it, because it wouldn't be fair to other fighters who have more integrity and more honesty. Why should Fury get the privilege of getting away with all that mess? You see, I'm not a fanboy of any fighter. I'm going to say what I see like catchphrase. But again, people who actually are fanboys will never understand it because their brains are too primitive. They're just going to assume that I have the same pathology that they do. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And by the way, if you'd like to hear a free 10-minute sample of my most recent topical podcast on Patreon, there's a link that you can click in the description below. The episode is about how to get over a breakup as a man. I've gotten great feedback on the episode. Several people who left comments on it seem to indicate that they're going through a difficult breakup right now. I'm an older guy in my mid-40s, been there, seen it, done it, bought the t-shirt 10 times over. So I like to be able to share the knowledge I've acquired over the years with younger men in the hope that it can help and assist them. So like I say, to listen to the free 10-minute sample, you don't have to sign up for anything. Just click the link in the description box below. And if you like what you hear and you want access to the full episode and all my other topical content on Patreon, then just follow the instructions in this trailer. Are you surrounded by mindless bots in human form who adhere to the norm and blindly conform? Who swallow all the mainstream BS and actually ridicule you for questioning things? Do you wish you had more free-thinking individuals in your life to network and converse with? Well, look no further. We're right here. Come and join the Brotherhood of Reason on Patreon. You'll gain access to my weekly topical content, where we take deep dives on an endless variety of subjects, as well as my vast back catalogue of podcasts, videos, interviews, movie decodings, and my Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You'll also get to talk and network with myself and hundreds of other people in our members chat. You can enjoy all this via the Patreon app or on desktop, and download all my podcasts in high quality MP3. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store, or simply visit patreon.com on a web browser. Then head on over to my page and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. All the links are in the description box below. And just a quick money-saving tip for Apple users. If you purchase your Patreon subscription on the desktop site or on Android, then you'll avoid the ridiculous 30% fee that Apple charges for purchases made on the iOS app. So if you're on iPhone or iPad, save yourself some money by buying your subscription on the actual Patreon website or on Android, because it's a lot cheaper. Once you've made that initial purchase, you can then use the Patreon app on your iPhone or iPad thereafter to access and enjoy your content as normal.